Picture this. You're hit with a crisis. You reach out looking for guidance, a hand to hold, and all you get back is absolute silence. For most of us, our default operating system runs strictly from the outside in. We constantly scan our environment, waiting for someone else to reassure us that we're okay, that we're doing the right thing, that we exist. When you rely entirely on that external validation, you end up living half asleep. You move through life constantly bracing for failure, reacting to circumstances instead of actually charting your own course. So constantly seeking that outside safety doesn't actually protect you. It quietly builds an internal prison of dependency, trapping you in a cycle where you are always a victim to the whims of the world around you. Alan Watts suggested a totally different view. What if that chilling silence, that painful absence of a safety net, is actually a profound gift? When the phone call never comes, when you are left looking at an empty chair, the lack of comfort forces you inward, transition from feeling like cruel punishments into necessary initiations. The loneliness you were trying so hard to avoid becomes your greatest teacher. It's an intense forging process. The fire of that experience burns away all those fragile illusions, like the exhausting need for everyone's approval. And what's left is your true essence, a core that cannot be broken. When the world utterly refuses to hold your hand, it forces a shift. You finally become your own foundation. Once you establish that internal anchor, you have to ask, how does this quiet, unshakable state actually alter the way you physically interact with the world around you?
The psychiatrist Carl Jung observed that our reality isn't a fixed, objective thing happening to us. Instead, our perception is an active sculptor. Think of the external world as a second mirror. It is constantly bending and molding itself to reflect the assumptions and stories you carry inside of you. This chart illustrates exactly how that shift physically plays out. It is a psychological cycle that begins with the narrative in your mind. The story you tell yourself creates the belief you embody. Then, that solid belief fuels the specific actions you take. And finally, those aligned, inspired actions are what actually construct the physical reality you experience. Your internal story is always the primary cause. The outer world is simply the delayed, inevitable effect. But we usually get this backwards. We sit around paralyzed, waiting to feel confident or waiting for some clear proof before we finally decide to make a move. Breaking that pattern involves what some call the principle of assumption. It's the radical practice of completely embodying the feeling of your wish fulfilled right now, long before you have any tangible proof of it in the outside world. You don't need confidence to start. Confidence is a consequence. It is born the exact moment you decide to step forward, even with trembling knees, acting in spite of your fear. Every time you take that inspired action, you give your brain concrete evidence. You prove the old fear-based narrative wrong, and you force the new reality to solidify beneath your feet. When you combine that disciplined, unwavering optimism with immediate movement, you force the world's mirror to reflect the life you are actively creating. And there is a strange, highly tangible consequence to becoming completely self-anchored. You turn into a kind of universal magnet. You'll notice a distinct pattern. Certain sensitive beings, stray dogs at the park, young children, the elderly, just start gravitating toward your energy. These groups completely bypass all the complex masks of the adult world. They operate on a primal, intuitive level, completely ignoring the words you say, in favor of feeling exactly who you are. You can think of them as the third mirror. They are pure, unfiltered reflections of the quiet safety and genuine authenticity you've managed to cultivate inside yourself. This kind of magnetism has absolutely nothing to do with performing for others. It is simply the natural byproduct of undeniable internal certainty. Psychologists often ground this in the concept of high emotional intelligence. It's an unspoken language where your posture, your tone, and your microexpressions constantly broadcast a clear signal of safety. To see the scale of this, look at this breakdown of emotional communication. It shows that the vast majority of our emotional meaning, often cited as up to 93%, is broadcast entirely through subconscious, nonverbal cues. Some prefer a more metaphysical explanation for the exact same phenomenon, seeing this deep, magnetic authenticity as a vibrant aura, or sensing the clear, steady energy signature of an old soul. Regardless of the framework, the conclusion is the same. The validation, the unshakable strength, the deep love we spend our lives searching for out in the world. We were generating it inside ourselves the entire time. Reality follows the contours of your vision. So, what unspoken story are you choosing to broadcast to the world today?